Okay, so this is Millie Poynton, and she's going to be talking about the development of a baby in its first year of life for P10. Okay, Millie, so is there a baby that you know of?
I do.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about this baby and perhaps about the developmental stages that you've been aware of?
I know a little baby, and he is called Theo. I'm not exactly too sure how old he is, but obviously after spending time with him, I can see, and also through pictures, the physical growth and the cognitive growth as well. Compared to when he was only, about 2 months old, when he could barely do much at all, compared to now when I believe he could be now 7 months old, and he can recognise you, he can make noises, he's more mobile.
Yeah, okay. So would you like to talk about the different sort of developmental stages?
So
we've got, I mean, you mentioned, physical development, you've talked about cognitive function as well, haven't you? Perhaps emotional and speech and communication you could touch on as well. I don't mind how you do that. I'll leave it up to you.
So obviously when the baby's a newborn, very limited to anything that it can do. It can't really walk, talk, nothing like that. But obviously as the baby gets older, one of the first things it does do is it will grasp onto the finger of whoever's holding it. It can kind of slightly move its head. It'll be learning how to roll, trying to pull itself up, to sit up. Facial expressions as well. If, for example, they have trapped wind or, they feel a bit sick, they can show that via the physical appearance. Moving on to maybe about 6 months old now. So if, for example, the mother offers them something, they'll reach out to grab it. And obviously that'll probably go in the mouth. A lot of things that babies do grab onto will go in the mouths. And they'll be able to sit up now, hopefully, with a straight back. What else can they do?
So those are sort of your physical ones.
Yeah.
Do you know the difference between fine motor skills and gross motor skills?
So fine motor skills are more intricate, so it requires a lot more work from like the fingers. For example, obviously this isn't about a baby, but doing like your buttons or something like that. Whereas gross is more bigger things.
Okay, so what sort of fine skills would you expect in, let's say, a 3-month-year-old?
Holding the toys. If they've got a little ball thing or a little rattle or a dummy, they can hold on to that.
And what sort of gross skills might you observe at that age?
3 months old, sorry.
Yeah.
They can start to kick maybe.
Yeah.
If they're in a baby bath, the water's splashing on them, they may kick it about.
Yeah. And how would that be different than a month-old? How would those gross skills look as a month-year-old?
Way less developed. I feel as though, for example, if you put a baby in the bath at 1 month old, it would just lay there still.
Yeah, it might move its legs,
but it wouldn't. It wouldn't be as like, not aggressive, but it wouldn't be as like, I don't know how to put it into words.
Would it be voluntary or involuntary?
Probably involuntary.
Like, are they making a decision to move their legs, or are the legs just wriggling about?
They're just wriggling about.
Whereas at 3 months
old, they realise now that there's water on them, so they're trying to kick it.
Yeah. Very good. Okay. So could you talk about 9 months old and 12 months old? Could you say what development might occur between 9 months and 12 months in terms of gross motor skills?
So now at 9 months the baby's sitting up. It's starting to explore the house, so they'll be pulling themselves up on things like chairs, tables, the sofa, the bed, and they'll be able to stand up holding on to some of them pieces of furniture.
Yeah.
But the mum or the dad or whoever can be starting to teach them how to walk, so they'll be holding them, shadowing them, and they'll be essentially way more mobile because they'll be moving across the floor, whereas that is, sliding themselves or shuffling or crawling. Now at 12 months older, we are mobile. We can walk with only one hand holding rather than two. And even if for example, when they wake up now, when they're lying down, they can sit up in bed and maybe, you know, make a few words to shout for their mum.
Yeah, okay. So you were talking about a few words there. So let's move on to sort of cognitive and speech and communication and things like that. So sort of the brain, speech and communication. Let's think about the newborn again. What sort of speech and communication do we get from a newborn?
We're not getting as much verbal at all, in the sense of that they're talking, but they can make sounds, you know, obviously they can cry if they've got a problem, if, you know, they're in pain or, you know, they need feeding, something like that. They're now also aware that, following up my previous point, they're aware of feelings inside themselves, so if they feel hungry or if they're tired or if they need changing, then they can feel that and they can verbalise that to whoever's looking after them.
What age would they be when they do actually start to say their first words?
I would say maybe about 6 months old. I'd say maybe 6 months old with, you know, even little words like mama, dada, stuff like that, just to get their attention. They'll be able to verbalise that a lot more.
So knowing what the words mean,
yeah.
perhaps be a little bit later.
Yeah.
But they're starting to get a response from those
definitely.
sounds. Brilliant. What about emotional development of, let's say, a 6-month-old? You're saying the baby you know is around 6-7 months. What sort of emotional development?
So from what I have seen when I was spending time with Theo is that if a baby is settled with, for example, their mum and somebody else, I don't know, not a stranger, but if somebody else decides to take them from their mum, they don't like that at all. They get very upset. Their face drops, they'll cry. They don't want to go together. They get really, really upset because they are meant to be with their mum. They feel safe with their mum. And if a random person's come and pick them up, they don't feel safe. They feel a bit scared, so they're going to be crying.
And you talk about crying. Have you seen those videos where if they hear sad music or if they see somebody else crying, what does the baby do?
I've never seen that.
Have you not?
No.
Oh, right. So a baby will often imitate, you know, so if I start crying, the baby will start crying as well.
I used to do that actually. So,
Yeah.
well, for example, like one of my nephews, if he started crying, I'd go, ah, and then he'd stop.
Yeah. Okay. What about, let's say at 12 months, what sort of emotional development might we see at 12 months? So at a year old, what emotional progression have they made?
Showing affection.
Yeah.
They'll be able to say like hiya, bye to people, you know, they'll give them a wave, they'll give them a hug when they're leaving.
So there's a lot more recognition of who the person is.
Yeah, so if they have like a big family gathering, they're able to go and hug like the grandma or the granddad, you know, show them some affection, give them a kiss, cuddle up with them. They may also start to, you know, form like possessions, for example, over the toys. So they have one thing that they may be like a blanket or a teddy or sort of soft toy that they feel quite attached to, so they would like to bring that with them.
Okay. Do you want to talk about if we didn't see any of these? I mean, we all develop at different points, don't we? But if there was a delay in the development of something like sitting up or speech.
So if a mother or a father decides, you know, one day they feel like actually something isn't right, like my baby he's not sitting up properly, or he's not reacting to his name, or there's no response to certain things, or he's even failing to walk, then I feel, you know, they should probably take it medically to a paediatrician to see, they can run some tests, because quite often the time, for example, if your baby isn't looking at you or they aren't, you know, engaging with you, or if you call them, there's no response, they could have a learning disability like autism. So yeah, definitely go into the paediatrician and just running tests to check that, you know, things are okay.
Okay, lovely. And where would we record all of these different developments of the child in its first year?
It's in the Red Book that you get given when obviously your baby's born.
And who can write in the Red Book?
So the midwife, when obviously you go and visit her, the GP, the health visitor, anybody, well not anybody, but the mum, the parents. It's ultimately like their diary to document, you know, what's going on, because they spend the most time with their child.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So anything can go down in there.
Thank you very much.